All right, so let's get started with it. We're on chapter 2, student answers, review questions. Number 1, a national code that covers workplace safety is going to be OSHA. That's going to be on page 21, letter D, OSHA. Number 2, we're going to be on a good method of preventing electrical hazards is to blank, lockout, tagout, B. And then that's going to be on page 20. All right, we're on number 3, proper fire extinguisher use. Remember the initials pass, pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. So you're gonna pull the pin, you're gonna aim at the base of the fire, you're gonna squeeze the lever, and you're gonna sweep. That's gonna be letter C, and that's going to be on page 24. All right, so the rest, just listen. Number 4, before dealing with an electrical fire, make sure that the fire extinguisher is rated class C, and that's also the answer. So multiple choice C, and the answer is C. Page 25, an elevated body temperature headache. We're on number 4. We're on number 5. An elevated body temperature headache, nausea, weakness, dizziness, fainting, and confusion are signs of heat-related illness. That's C, page 24. Number 6, a sudden uncontrolled release of refrigerant could cause the following except B, electrical burns. That's on page 27. So just to clear, the release of refrigerant does cause blindness. Well, it can cause blindness, it can cause frostbite, and it can cause skin damage, but doesn't cause electrical burns. All right, give me 1 second. Moving on to number 7. All right. All right, when storing or transporting refrigerant cylinders, they should be kept vertical with the valve at the top. That's on page 27. Number 8, since nitrogen cylinders can be charged to such a high internal pressure, a blank is necessary when using the nitrogen. That's going to be C, pressure regulator, page 27. And for the future, when you see nitrogen, think leak test, because they use nitrogen to test the cylinders. So that's going to be an EPA question in the future. When you see nitrogen, think leak detection. All right, we're on number 9. Because many refrigerant vapors are heavier than air, a confined space must have blank good ventilation, letter B. So that's 9 is B, good ventilation. That's going to be on page 28. And the others, they don't even make sense. A GFCI outlet, that's electrical lotto supplies. I'll tell you that doesn't make sense. A pressure regulator, I could see that, but the answer is B, good ventilation. All right, number 10, when cutting or removing asbestos, run a ventilation system with a blank filter. That's gonna be a HEPA filter. That's gonna be on page 30. Now, once again, GFCI doesn't make sense. That's electrical. PPE stands for personal protection equipment. And HEPA is a form of PPE. So PPE is a blanket term. It covers gloves, masks, goggles, and everything. SDS, a safety data sheet. That doesn't, well, it's related, but it's not a filter. So B, HEPA for number 10, page 30. 11, if an environment requires workers to raise their voice to be heard, blank protection is likely warranted. That's hearing, page 31. And they have a thing in there saying that if you work more than 8 hours a day and it's 90 decibels, you need to wear ear protection. That's just a little extra note, 90 decibels at 8 hours, okay? Number 12, when working in a dusty environment, blank should be used for eye protection. All right, so now this one, I broke this one down. It says face shield, safety goggles, standard safety goggles, and sunglasses. All right, so for face shields, it says use the notes, these are around page 31. Face shield, it says when you're doing brazing, you need to do a face shield. It says when you're dealing with flame, you need to do sunglasses, AKA shaded lenses. And when you're dealing with chemicals, it says standard safety goggles. It says for a dusty environment, it says full goggles. So I put safety goggles instead of standard safety goggles because I think safety goggles just cover your eyes. I think full goggles, I don't know, man. So mine is out of B, safety goggles, or C, standard safety goggles. The only reason I went with safety goggles is because I think you can add attachments to regular safety goggles, If it just says standard safety goggles, I don't think that includes the side pieces that you would need. So I went with B, safety goggles, and you can look up that on page 31. And I just want to show you what brazing looks like. So A says face shield. I just want to show you, they say face shield for brazing, and that's what brazing looks like. That's me melting my first copper pipe to make, and this was just an assignment we had in class to brazing is different than welding. And you see how I'm using that stick to the left, there's like a skinny stick. I'm melting that skinny stick onto the copper to create a weld, to create a seal. So let's see what we got here. All right, number 13, when working, there is limited amount of oxygen in the air, less than 19.5%. Use a blank as a respiratory protection. I went with C, supplied air respirator. The answer to that is on page 33, so C. I went 14. When handling toxic or corrosive liquid chemicals, wear blank gloves, rubber, or plastic. They might also use the word synthetic, but on page 34, they use it all in one sentence: synthetic, rubber, and plastic. Number 15, a ladder being used to access the upper area should extend past blank above the step surface. That's going to be D, 3 feet, page 34. And if you look closely, the A says 3 ... that's inches. D says 3 ... which is 3 feet. So understand that 2 means inches, 1 means foot. Obviously, because it takes more inches to make 1 foot. So be careful, because sometimes that catches people. They'll see that first one like, oh, it's 3 feet, and you don't realize that actually says 3 inches. So 3 feet is the answer. D is on page 34. Now we're on to the critical thinking. Who is responsible for the safety on the job? Explain your answer. So I wrote you, because you're responsible for yourself. You're also responsible for others, and you're also responsible for your company. So if you mess up, your company can be sued. If you mess up, you can not only harm yourself, but other people. And this includes the safety of what equipment you choose to bring. I mean, how many times have you not used something at any job just out of laziness? Like maybe even if you're just painting your house, instead of you going down and then moving the ladder over, you kind of extend yourself, knowing that there's a possibility of completely collapsing the ladder with you on it. So safety is your responsibility. Try not to be lazy. I know it's hard, especially when you're tired. All right, number 2, list at least one example from the 7 hazards you might encounter when performing a service call. So this starts on page 22 and it goes to page 30. There's 7 different hazards. Let me go through them. All right, so in order, page 22, we got electrical hazards. The risk are electrical arc, electrocution, and burns. Fire is a fire hazard, number 2, page 24. Combustibles or fumes, which means just because the gas, the combustible isn't on fire, the fumes itself are being released. And if you're in a small area, you could get sick. All right, page 24, temperature hazards. Heat-related illnesses can lead to dizziness or fainting. If you're in a crawl space or underneath someone's house, you pass out, it's already hot out, no one may know you're down there for an hour or 2, and something could happen to you. 26, pressure. All right, so problem with pressure hazards is vapors can escape or damage to the cylinder. Things like that could happen, which could be even a bigger problem. So those are pressure hazards. Refrigerant hazards. Refrigerants are usually heavy gases, so you need to be in a properly ventilated area. The last 2 hazards are chemical hazards, page 29, which can lead to chemical burns or injuries to your eye. And number 7 is breathing hazards. So asbestos are still in some buildings, and they are carcinogenic if you inhale them. So, all right, last one, number 3, list 3 potential hazards when working with a portable extension ladder. That's going to be on page 34 through 35. I'm going to give you 5 of potential hazards. Well, one is making sure, if you can, using a non-conductive material for your ladder, which is fiberglass, because metal is conductive. Avoid electrical hazards, meaning avoid power lines or putting it anywhere near power lines. And some of this seems like common sense, but once again, when you're tired or your ego, you do things that are dangerous. Number 3 is making sure that you're putting the ladder on a level surface, both the ladder at the bottom and the piece at the top. And then the two more I got is your max weight. If it says 350, you're 400. I mean, that's one simple, being under that max weight. And then the fifth one is the question we just did, is 3 feet past the top. So when you put that ladder up, make sure that it's going 3 feet past whatever it's leaning on. All right, and that should be everything.